welcome to the first episode of Talk Business with D. This is put together to have certain key conversations with, immigrant business owners within the UK, understanding and having insight into, entrepreneurship and how it relates to, them being an immigrant within the UK, especially African immigrants within the UK. So, our first ever, business owner that we're going to be interviewing is an amazing person, that I've, sort of known for quite a while now, and is really doing very good in business. And it's such a delight to be having, this podcast with him. And that's no other person, other than Mr. Adeyinka Ojo. It's lovely to have you in the studio today.
Thank you so much for having me in this first edition.
Yeah, lovely.
I was surprised when you told me that. I was like, really? I mean, that's a very big, huge honor to me.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. It's such a delight to have you on.
Mhm.
We'll be having some conversations, and then we'll be looking into business.
Yeah.
So my first question really would be, what is business like for you in the UK? Because back in Nigeria, as a Nigerian, you've had some insights into business and all. Now coming into a new country as an immigrant, what's it still like for you?
Thank you. I mean, that's a very huge question. I remember far back in Nigeria those days, we just want to have business because we want to make money.
Right.
I'm seeing my colleagues. I want to ride this car. I want to buy this.
Yeah.
But coming in here, I found out that business is in a different phase. And one of the phase I picked is all about service. It's all about solving people's problem. Even though definitely the bottom of all things is money. We're going to get money out of it. But how much of the problem can you solve? How much of the thinking can you do even when there's no box, as I used to say? People do say, oh, you don't think, outside the box. But no, coming to England has really shown me that there may not even be a box at times. And you really need to create something out of it. So creating that, but most importantly, creating service, solving problem. If you look how the way UK has been for many years, it's all because they were able to look into the future and say, well, we need to put this in place, all into solving either the current problem or the future. I mean, so as much as, everybody wants to make money, but look into an aspect and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Do I really want to solve a problem? Am I creating a very unique service and value? Because people will always pay for your value. I mean, so that's one of the things that really, so I have that shift of mind. Of course, I'm still making money. But of course, one of the things that drive me is that I really want to create a value for you, solve your problem, whether the initial problem or the future problem.
I remember there was a time that I came to the UK for vacation, and I was working at the time as a user experience designer in Nigeria. And then I was here on vacation for like 3 months. My company didn't even know that, I traveled at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, my brother kept asking me, are you not supposed to be at work? Like, it was so boring.
Yeah.
And I realized at that point in time that the way, certain things work is quite different. Because if the British organization is paying you £10 per hour, you would do that work.
That's why it's called hard currency,
you literally have to put in that work.
Yeah.
And I think that it's sort of the same thing for business as well.
Yeah.
Because you you cannot just say it's my business.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to, I want us to delve a little bit deeper into the finance aspect of running a business, because one of the things that I've seen about, for example, in Nigeria, if you're running a business, let's say you're making 50 million naira per year, for example, in revenue. It's your money.
Yeah.
You decide how you spend
Yeah.
it. So let's delve a little bit deeper. Do you think there's a difference when it comes to, the UK as regards to how financings are being managed within the UK?
Well, in the financial industry, or probably if I talk to a finance expert, I would say money is still money, but the outputs, or let me say the inputs and the output may be different. So whether you're in Africa, in Nigeria, or in the UK, the way you make money is all about, selling. You must be able to sell something. Yeah. Either you are selling yourself, or you are selling, a product. I don't ask people that. You must be able to do that, So, but the difference in where we are coming from and where we are is that there's what is called standards and regulatory.
Right.
And back home, I mean, you can join one or two things together and then money will come out. Right. There may not even be a standard around whatever you're creating. There may not be what I call, government regulatory monitoring that, right. And of course money will still come. But in here, the money will come out, but there's quite a lot of other plugs that you need to take into consideration. Your environment is there. The people you're going to service is there. Most importantly, the government. So as much as you want to make money, I remember that was 3 years ago when I was doing a particular product, and I was thinking like, I mean, let's just push it out, and people will probably just start to use the product. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that easy because they were questioned from regulatory. They were questioned from government. The reason why should people use this product? There are things around sustainability.
Right.
There's things around environment. So I was asking myself, what do you mean environment? What do you mean sustainability? Let's just, so let's each of
something out there.
Exactly, right. But each of all those things really, really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to get the money, but your money is more of like, there's many eyes looking at it. In Nigeria, honestly, you can do anything and just quickly put in. And I appreciate that. I mean, it's a very fast moving economy. But in here, it's a bit regulatory. As much as you really want to earn, if probably you start want to earn £1 million today, yes, fine, it's good. But honestly, they'll be eyeing on it because they really want to know, what are you doing? Hope it's not fraudulent. Hope it's not creating havoc. Hope it's not going to put a problem later in the future. I mean, so it's quite it's all those things are quite very, very important, and that is why you're doing a little thing and they will ask your neighbor, is it convenient? If it's not convenient, you may be told to stop. Right. If your neighbor says yes, they will ask someone else. I mean, so each of all those things really matters, and those are the things that finally get into that push you forward into becoming a very good business owner, and also making a lot of money.
Right. So what are some of the culture shock that you sort of had when you started your business in the UK?
That's deep. I was forced to maybe tax.
Love it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Tax. UK tax.
I think everybody is experiencing the shock of tax. Apart from even business owners, even employees are really, really, really in shock.
Yeah.
As to the amount of tax that they need to pay, on per annum.
Honestly.
Basically. But as a business person, would you say that tax is more lenient for business owners as compared to employees?
Well, I would say it's in between. I mean, you're very right. Both the employee, the payee, that's what we call them,
Yeah.
and the business owner. I mean, you would both undergo. You pass through HMRC. Almighty is
Those
Royal
guys.
Majesty or our Royal Majesty, you know.
Those guys.
You know, it's
They will come for you.
they will definitely the brown envelope. You can't miss it. You can't miss that brown envelope. You know, I mean, before I started my own business, I used honestly, I paid quite a lot of heavy tax. You know, and I thought, you know, as a business owner now. It's my money. I'm making money. Let me spend it the way I want. And one of the first shock I had is, you know, I'm making money, and at times I send the money to myself. Like, no, I didn't know anything. I thought it's my money. And I was just sending it to myself. And they knock at the door when I said, Mr. Man, all this money, you're trying to mismanage fund. And I'm like, I'm mismanaging my money.
That's my money.
That's my business.
Right.
It's a shock for me because, I mean, well, maybe far back home, we do business and then the money comes to you and you spend it. But over here, it's so much regulated. They are looking into, even as tiny as what you're using those money for. Even though you are the owner, but you are not expected just to spend it. So I started hearing allowable, you know, expense. And I'm like, which one is allowable expense? You know, and then I realized that, okay, all right, let me keep the money. If you don't want me to spend it, at least let it be in my business account. And the year runs, and then they will still come for you and say, well, you need to pay
tax.
You know, complaint tax and this tax. And I was like, that was a very big shock for me because I thought I've escaped. I knew that there would be some tax because I know, you know, but I never expected it to be
that much,
you know, coming in. So that was a very big shock for me. Maybe because I didn't learn it quite early, but I mean, that was another thing that I realized is that I would probably say time is everything. Oh, time is everything here. Your business or probably your product or whatever you're doing out there, make sure that you get it out at the right timing. You must not be too early. You must not be too late.
Right.
I realized that because I found out that if you're too early, maybe they don't even need it. It's a good product. It's a good thing you're doing, but it's not right. You know, it's not just, I mean, look at AI. Probably that's come maybe a few years ago. Maybe it's not the right timing. So it's that was another shock before because I realized that whatever you're doing, take into consideration so many other factors. You know, your customers, those that use it, the right timing. Timing is everything here. Don't just because I mean, look at even UK. Probably you are making a shirt and you want to sell the shirt. Look at the weather. We have winter, we have summer, we have spring. So the timing of you bringing out that product, that shirt, is quite and it can be a shock to you. You would think you have a fantastic product, which is good. A shirt, you know, well branded. But if you're selling a shirt in winter, you've missed it. You know, so that one was quite big for me also. And I would say the last one, well, maybe that one wasn't so much shock for me. I would say is the communication and, you know, they really want to get to know you. And I think we do that also back home. Maybe we call it, you know, something like maybe we go out, you know, thank God it's Friday and all those things. But even if you're so brilliant and you're producing something very good out there, they really want to know who you are. You need to go out with them. You need to go to the pub. Whether you drink or not, that's not what matters. But you need to discuss some other things. Talk about their weather. So I have to learn about the weather. I have to learn about their sports. I have to learn about their food. I have to learn about the animals. You know, there's quite a lot of things that you must be able to know. And this is still business forum, but they want you to discuss it. I mean, all those when I started, you know, it was a bit shock for me, but now I've learned it. So when you go out there, you talk about the weather, you talk about, you know, this sport is going on. Before you even delve into business talk and all those things. And at times, we may not talk about the business. Those are just the conversation they just want to get out of you because they've seen who you are. You know, introvert, extrovert. Are you open? Are you loyal? There's a lot of things they had up in that. Yeah.
Amazing. You need to learn about their cats, their parrots.
Oh yeah. They love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful to watch, really, because you know, having two different individuals from different parts of the world.
Oh yes.
You know, having different mindsets, and then they have to work together.
Yeah.
And they have to, you know, understand each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think one of the things that I've seen, you know, over time is you need to actually understand how the system works for you to
very,
be
very
able
important.
To thrive in that system.
Oh, you need to.
And I feel like most of us immigrants, I would say us because I'm also an immigrant myself, you know, we try as much as possible to not want to shift base. And what do I mean by that? We want to operate the way we are operating, you know, back home in our own country, basically. And it's really not working for us because a lot of people come in here, they don't understand the system, and then in a very short while they run into trouble.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You see, for example, things like account. You mentioned something when you were talking, you know, about taxes, for example, and for example, you're transferring money from your business account to your personal account. Yeah. You were not told, you were not informed, and then eventually you realize that they come for you, and then HMRC is saying you are owing them £45,000. What have I done?
What have I done?
How much have I even made?
How much have I made?
From the business? So I feel a lot of people really need to sit down and learn, you know, the ways of the organization, or the, let me not say organization now, let me say the way of the country, you know, and how they are wired, how they think, you know, how they handle the information that you give to them, you know, about yourself. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into what your business is, because I know that a lot of people, you know, are wondering, okay, who is this Mr. Adeyinka Ojo? What does he do? You know, what right does he even have to come talk about business as an immigrant?
Exactly, honestly.
You know?
Exactly. Right. You know, and you're right. I mean, first of all, I mean, I used to call myself immigrant, you know, but few years ago, I realized that when they came over to Africa, they called themselves explorer.
Right.
They call themselves expats.
Right.
They never call themselves immigrants. And
we
whereas they're, you know, so I changed that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm no more immigrant. I'm an expat.
Yeah.
I'm an explorer.
Right.
You know, you need me. That's why I'm in your country. And that was very, very, you know, a deliberate, unapologetic word from me. You actually need me. That's why I'm here. You know, so I do tell people outside there, don't you know, belittle yourself or anything. No, you're an expert too. You know, you're the explorer. You came to explore something the same way they call themselves, you know, explorer. So what am I into? Well, this is Data Crunch sitting down.
I love it.
Data Crunch, you know, started, let's say 4 years ago. You know, we are into digital, you know, tech training, you know, and you know, far back we started. Is it 4 or 5 years ago? Yeah, just too very. When I came, I think I came in 2018 into England. Moreover, I came in through, you know, Global Talent, you know, visa. I mean, for those that don't know much about that, it's a tech visa that gives you so much. Let me use the word freedom. You know, you get it, and then you have the ability to do quite a lot of things. So I came in through Global Talent, you know, and I started it then, even though I was working. You know, I was with Accenture. Yeah, what is you know. Right. So any Accenture watching, you know, I was with Accenture, but I started then, and I was like, I want to be a bridge, you know, between company individuals where we teach people, but not just teach it. We'll be able to train people the real way of using digital to shape their world, to shape their business, and to increase their productivity. And then Data Crunch started, a few years ago, and it's been, it's been growing because we partner with, of course, individual. We started with individuals where we just train, we train you, and it's not like the generic training because there's so many people that have a lot of digital tech training right now. We don't do any videos. We just have what I call expert instructors, where it's going to be one-on-one. We realize that while we be watching 2 hours videos, you can ask questions, and then even after the video, what next? So we bring in few things like you have a personal instructor, and we probably do just 2 cohorts in a year because a particular training can last you almost 6 months. I tell people you can know Python in 2 weeks, for God's sake. Who taught you that? You will probably get to become a Python expert. I mean, I remember my first Python training took almost 8 months. You need to really, really invest a lot of time. And even with the 8-month training, you won't still become an expert, but that's a very good beginning. So it's very, very deliberate. If you come to my site, Data Crunch Academy, you won't send a video. You're going to meet an instructor who's going to handhold you for maybe 6 months, depending on the courses you're doing. But apart from that, we connect with other companies where we can, after your training, you can do a bit of internship, so that you can start to learn how to use some of these tools. So why are you learning project management? Where will you apply it? And then, or probably why are you learning DevOps? Or why do you want to know about Agile or Scrum? A lot of things is out there. Don't just take theoretical, but we're a bit more into the practical. And so we partner. But of course, other things like your CV, partnering with some very good HR company where they guide you on how your CV will look like. And we handhold you till probably you get your work. I mean, so basically that's what we do. So we started with individuals, and then later we move into industry. We transit and say, well, industry need people to train them. There's a lot happening. There's massive knowledge gap in artificial intelligence right now. And then we saw that coming. We saw AI coming 4 years ago, and we really, really dive into it even before people, started, 2 years ago, a lot of noise right now. We started like, no, AI is coming upon us, and we really need companies to know about it. So we move into organization where we train. It's still the same hands-on instructor. We sit with you in your company. We solve your problem. We let you know that this is how you can use it, and then we started like that. So from individual to industry, and that is what we're still doing. And apart from that, we now carve out the consulting part of Data Crunch, where we consult for you around the use of data, and we are strictly on data. We don't deal with every other, it's just data. How should you use your data to help your business grow? I mean, basically that's what we do. And then early last year, we dived into property. We started, a property investment company, which is called Bethel. And Bethel is just, we felt like, okay, I mean, and now what I'm saying, I'm a Christian. It's based on the inspiration of God. For me. So it's I didn't just do anything. I started Data Crunch based on instruction, and then when I wanted to dive into another one, I felt like, God, what do I need to do? I understand the time and season, so I dive into property investments, where we buy property, we refurbish, and then we sell. And the 2 companies growing gradually.
Amazing. Love it. You're really an inspiration to a lot of people. There are lots of people out there who, look up to you, who are like, okay, if this person can, do the things that they are doing, it's amazing to watch, and they can, sort of draw from that and run with, that inspiration and do other beautiful things for themselves as well. As we start to wrap things up, I would ask that as an immigrant who newly came into the country, so let's say, with all the knowledge that you have right now,
Yeah.
About business, about entrepreneurship within the UK, what would you say to that person that is just coming into the UK, as an immigrant, who's just landing in Heathrow Airport and saying, "Oh my God, I'm going for business," right? What would you say to that person? What are some of the things that, if you learned early enough, would have shaped, the way you think, or would have shaped the way you approach certain things?
Yeah.
How would you have done things better? Right.
Yeah. So if I probably would talk to Yinka maybe 10 years ago when he was still a bit, a younger age, not because I'm growing old right now, I would start by first saying, honestly, and many people will not like this part. Start with God.
I love it. Me, I like this.
And if you're watching, you may feel like, oh, they've come again. No. You say, everything must start with Him. He has the script of your life in His hand. I tell people. So I'm a Christian, and I'm very proud to be a Christian and to tell people about it. As much as I'm very diligent, as much as we're going to do strategy, as much as we're going to do networking, sales, there's someone that has the script of your hand in his hand. So I tell people, you're new. Ask the person that acts the scripts of your life. Go to him first. Why are you here? What does he want you to do? Because it's very important, so that you won't just dive into something that is not useful, and then you'll be wasting your time. If I would tell my younger self, I would say, ensure you get to know God, first. I mean, it starts with Him. There's a verse that has really helped me. I was telling you the other time.
Yeah.
It says, I teach at your hand to profit.
Right.
I mean, and if you're watching, please, read that verse as much as, and the light will come. One idea from God. You're liberated. Just one. So don't let us turn this to vigil or to church, before they get angry.
Oh my God.
So I would say, planning is very important. Take your time. Be consistent.
Yeah.
One of the advice I would give is, run your race. Don't get too bogged about, Tunji has gone, Yinka is doing this. Everybody have his own path. Run your own path very well. Plan very well. Be strategic. Be consistent.
Right.
Be consistent with whatever you want to do. If you want to face your career, please face it to the best of the knowledge. Become the best in your field. When they're looking for someone that is top notch, in finance, let them know that it is Adeyinka.
Right.
And if you want to be a business person, an entrepreneur, learn the way of business. Please don't just think it will just jump on you. No. Be very brave. Be very unapologetic. My late mentor, Abbas Igwe, will always tell us, the fearless. Be fearless. Irrespective of whatever. Take the risk. Don't worry. Take that risk. Even you as living as human being is a risk. Eating is a risk, because the food can come out of the nose. It's a risk. So take the risk and run your race. And I will tell you, ensure you create value. Don't just, the money is good, honestly, but create value. Think of what you can do. Look at what the likes of Elon Musk is doing in this world. They've gone beyond global. They are going galactical. They're thinking about galaxy. These are strange human beings. But you can become one of that. In your own path, ensure you create that niche. So you coming into UK for the first time, don't forget God first, and then ensure you do your best. Work very hard, work very smart, read books that will follow, have good mentors, people that can put you. I make that mistake, not because I don't have mentor, but I don't know. Maybe I was on my own. Ask question. Oh, I'm trying to do this. Don't worry that maybe they will steal your ideas. If it is your idea, is your idea. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And
nobody can do it better
nobody.
than you.
Yeah, exactly. And as I've said, be consistent. Do not despise that little beginning because it will become big, and celebrate every success for God's sake. Don't be hard on yourself. Celebrate yourself. You've tried.
Right.
No matter what. It may look like, well, but at least you've made some win.
Yeah.
And then, you'll get there.
Amazing. I love that. I really want to, add a little bit of emphasis to the read books, part. And I think a lot of us are not learning enough, when it comes to business. For example, you're going to the university to study a course, let's say medicine, for example. You're spending 7 years there, reading books, taking exams, doing all the things that whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, you have to do it because for you to be a qualified doctor, eventually there are processes that you need to go through. And I feel like a lot of people are not handling business like that. They feel like, oh, everybody's doing business, and I think one of the trend nowadays is a lot of people are registering business.
Oh, yeah.
Because they feel like, oh, there's something like self-sponsorship, so that I can get like a longer stay within the UK. We'll still talk about that a little bit further. However, that is just to say that, don't just jump into business because you want to jump into business. Business is different from your home country.
Oh, yes.
Right? So read a book about how business is being run, within the UK. Learn about taxes, learn about, corporation tax, how do you file your account at the end of the year, how do you do your VAT returns.
It's very important.
These things are very key. They are very important. And a lot of people don't even have any idea about this. A lot of people come into, the end of the annual year now, the end of the financial year, and then they are confused about how do we do things? How am I meant to file my accounts? They're running helter skelter. And, HMRC is expecting that you do all these things, and send all of these things across. For example, now, ignorance is not an option.
No, yeah. You pay for that.
Come and say, I don't know.
Oh, you pay for it.
You have to pay for it.
You pay for it.
You see. So it's very important that you learn. And I think a good way is read a book because there are a lot of resources in reading books, in having certain conversations with people, have a mentor. Right.
Please.
Get an accountant that can help you, do some of these things.
Very, very important.
Get a business coach that can coach you on some of these things.
Go to business forum.
Go to business forums,
attend
important. Conferences. These are things that are very important. And I another thing that I've noticed is I've been to quite a lot of conferences in the UK in a short while that cuts across real business. People talking billions of pounds, money flying around here and there. And these opportunities are open, they're out there. But immigrants, you would not see one black person in there.
Because they're chasing the wrong thing.
Most of these conferences is either myself, I'm the only black person in that meeting. And I'm like, okay, where are we? Where are we going? What are we doing? We can do more. We can do better. Right? And I feel like I just need to emphasize that more because we're doing a lot of disservice to ourselves.
Exactly.
If we're not really taking advantage of all of the opportunities that we have out there. For the UK is about getting the right information, and sourcing that information and making good use of that information. Really. Because a lot of people come into the UK and then they are chasing shift, they are chasing care work. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Oh, of course,
Trust me, chase as many shifts as you can chase.
Because Bottom point. If it's
right?
still bringing you some money,
Yeah, if
it's
it's bringing
fine.
you money, it's fine. But the point is, what do you want for yourself?
Exactly.
Now, I think my last question now would be in two ways, right? One would be on mental health for a business owner, right? Um, in Nigeria, we didn't really have, this mental health thing.
This mental thing.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, coming to the UK and then they're like, I have mental health issues. And I think mental health is a real thing, you see, because one of the things that has helped us in Nigeria is the fact that we are very communal.
Oh yeah.
We communicate.
There's
We
the
have lots
support.
of
There's a bit
people.
of
Yeah, there's
yeah,
a bit
exactly.
of support. If you're having issues with your business, you have uncles so that you can call that can quickly borrow you some money, or maybe a friend out there that will be like, oh guy, let me quickly borrow you some money. So there could be a little bit of support here and there. You're not really thinking about a lot of things around bills because maybe our bills are quite yearly as opposed to monthly here in the UK. Right? So, like I said, my question is sort of in two ways. What would you... I want you to speak a bit into the mental health issue, when it comes to, starting a business in the UK. Do you think that it is, starting a business in the UK is causing more good than harm, to people who are going into business? And secondly, a lot of people run into business because they are trying to use that for self-sponsorship, basically. Now, do you think that it's causing more stress than usual, to the average immigrant, who wants to delve into business? So I want you to speak, a little bit deeply on that. Into that.
Yeah. So doing a business can be very lonely at times. And you can be isolated. Yeah. It can be lonely.
Right.
And you can be isolated. And that brings a lot of... I've been in that. I've come, I've entered... Don't let me say depression, but I've entered isolation, and then come out of it. And it's because the way the system is, there's a lot of things that makes what you're trying to cook become that good. Still, there's a lot you need to put. So it can be very, very lonely and isolated. Apart from that, there's something that is called a financial stress. I tell people, don't kill yourself. Relax, first of all. And you say, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Don't start to chase so many things because you feel like if you don't make this, that is the end. No, it's not the end. And is there a way I can reduce maybe the financial stress this is trying to cost me? So I tell people, there are very sharp minds in Nigeria. When I started, most of my, not even up to now, most of my colleagues are in Nigeria. I outsource some of the work. Not because it's a cheap labor or anything, no, but I'm trying to manage my financial stress. Over here, someone can charge you probably per hour. In Nigeria, it's going to be in a month. Find a way to manage it. One of the things that then I tell people is that manage your financial stress, because once that comes in, honestly, you're going to break down because you're trying to maybe do these digital website, ABC. You can easily be burdened. So avoid isolation. Talk to people for goodness sake. You're not forced to do that business. You're building an app. So talk to business.
And you don't necessarily know who has the answer.
You don't know who has the answer. Just ask. They won't steal your idea. No. Tell them, I'm trying to do this kind of thing. What do you think? Don't isolate yourself because you're trying to do something. Speak out. let people that can watch people that have done it and ask questions. Then another thing that causes a lot of tension is self-doubt. No, don't doubt yourself. Believe in whatever you are building. Even when it looks like, oh, this thing really works, relax. Have that braveness and that courage to keep going on. Keep going on like, well, this would work out well. And then lastly, and this is for me, just like I said, when I started, I was still within the consulting firm. I was, my two legs wasn't fully in the business,
right?
Because I was still learning few things back then. And as time goes on, I was able to stabilize and say, well, I think I can delve in
now. Yeah.
And before you delve in, ensure that if something happened in the next 6 months or even a year, can you still pay your house rent and those things that cause financial stress? Financial stress has killed many people in England. So ensure that you watch out for that. Now, for those that are chasing, like, well, they want to have business because of COS, well, what will I say to them? It's fine. I understand, you just want to have a bit of peace of mind. But I would advise that you don't kill yourself over it. Because at the end of the day, you will get that COS, but what do you want to use it for? So I would probably now say, chase that COS, and along the line, think of, well, I've actually even registered a complaint. Is there something I can use and make out of the complaint?
Right.
So that at the end of the day, it won't just be for COS. And then once you have it, then what next? And then you go back to one funny work and you're still doing. Think about it now. I've opened something. Okay, maybe I should even try and continue with it. Now that you've given me COS, it's a good thing and I understand. But don't let that be the ultimate. Remember, create value. Solve a problem. Do the hard thing. You mentioned at that time that many blacks are not in conferences is because we don't want to do the hard thing. Do the hard thing and then this place is crowded. Once you are doing the hard thing, you would just come out a bit. And those that do the hard thing, they are the one that there are not many at the top. Learn the hard thing and then do it. So don't just think, well, all these things will probably jump on you. And I tell people, so for mental health, talk to people. Eat well, for God's sake. What's the problem? Eat.
Oh my God.
If you can't eat the English meal, eat our meal.
Right.
Eat very well. Don't worry. Exercise. Please drink water. Exercise. Drink water. If you can't get to the gym, within the house, within your community, just take a walk. Don't even run. Just be taking a walk. Remember consistency. Just take a walk,
Right.
And I would finally, add to read that. Don't be afraid of failure. It's part of the journey. There's something that makes someone great. The ingredient is called failure and success. It is mixed together.
Right.
That's what makes you become someone great. So even when you start and you fail, it's fine. You've learned something that, well, unfortunately, I'm not sure this is the best way to do this thing, but continue with it. Don't be too afraid, like, well, what about if I fail? You won't be the first to fail. Keep going on. Keep going on. And enjoy yourself. This life is just one. Don't make it too hard upon yourself.
Right. You've got one life to live.
Yeah.
You've got one life to live. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing session so far. Thank you very much
Thank you
for your time. And I'm sure that a lot of people have picked, something that they can really run with. Out of all the wealth of wisdom that you've dished,
Thank you
on the podcast today. So thank you everyone for joining in today. I'm sure that you've learned something on business. You now sort of have a little glimpse as to why you're doing the things that you're doing, why it's important to fail, because having to succeed would require you failing at certain things at some point, and then, learning to succeed, based on those, failures. So I'll say it's a wrap on today's show, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.